Hey, Hope Quest family, Troy and Melissa here again. And you may be thinking to yourself right now, wow, 2 weeks in a row, they're wearing the same outfits. And, we're just wearing the same outfits. So,
honest, authentic, and real.
That's correct. That's correct. The bottom line is we're talking about navigating the holidays successfully. We want to navigate the holidays in a way that honors Jesus and that allows us to love and connect with our loved ones, but allows us to keep our recovery going the way that it needs to be going in a positive direction. So last week, we talked about 4 key practical steps that we can do to make sure that we navigate the holidays well. And these are from our good friends Steve and Cindy, Walking Free and Journey Leaders Extraordinaire. And let me just tell them again what these things are. So the 4 things we talked about last week: be authentic, stay present, have realistic expectations, and make an effort to be more physically active. Melissa, what would you like to say about those 4 things?
Well, we chose the first 4 things were really about things we have internal control over.
Yes.
They're about managing our internal world, what's happening inside of us, and boundarying ourselves, right, as we relate to the environment around us, right? So these are things that are about us and our internal world.
So these are things, in one sense, that we have control over, that we should be responsible, that we are responsible for. They're things that we bring to the table, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Okay. So these next 4 things that I'm assuming are kind of things that are out here, maybe out of our control, out of our sphere, that others are having control over. So set that up before we begin to talk about these 4.
So we have, when we're relating in any relationship, we have the things that we bring,
right?
Our character, our ability to contain and regulate our own emotions,
our beliefs.
That's right. And then we have the other side of that, which is in other relationships, we have to manage what people bring to us, right? And so we don't have power over how people are going to respond, but we do need to be able to have some safeguards in place for ourselves, steps for ourselves, so that it sets us up to be the most successful in relating to other people, no matter what they bring our way.
So it sounds like what you're saying is navigating the holidays successfully really is about having good, solid boundaries that we've thought through and that we have in place.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about these 4 steps that are super important. So number 1, choose who you will spend time with. The reality is you're going to run into a lot of different people on the holidays, and some of them you might just need to avoid for now. Some of them might be what we call unsafe people. And what you want to do is you want to make sure and make a choice to be around safe people. And, depending upon where you're at in your recovery, that line between safe and unsafe may shift some. But what do we mean real quick, Melissa, by safe versus unsafe people?
So safe people are going to honor and accept my recovery without pressuring me to join in relationally in a way that's going to potentially sabotage my recovery.
Okay.
So for the issue of alcohol, for instance, if I'm in recovery from alcoholism, if I'm going to a family event where everyone cracks open a beer the moment they walk in the door, that's not safe.
Right.
And so, especially if I'm in early recovery.
Right.
So recognizing that safe people honor where I am, they accept me where I am in my recovery, they don't try to pressure me or change me or give me advice, and they don't try to make me fit in because of their own anxiety about me not fitting in.
Right.
Right. They're able to accept where I am, and if I'm different, that's okay.
So a safe person is going to kind of love me where I'm at.
Absolutely.
And let me be me. Let me be authentic and stay present and have realistic expectations.
Right.
And those are the kind of people that we need to gravitate towards. And we just need to be careful and avoid unsafe people.
Yeah, and I'll just say this. Sometimes it's the choices get really tricky in recovery, because sometimes the most unsafe people for us are our family members.
Right.
And it's kind of expected that we hang out with family during the holidays. So it gets tricky because we have the guilt of I should be a good son, daughter, whatever, and go hang out with my parents and my siblings. But we also have all of these fears that we're trying to manage, and unfinished business and unresolved wounds. And so give yourself permission. If you're early in recovery and you'll be triggered by hanging out with your family, don't sacrifice your recovery for disappointing or displeasing them.
Gotcha.
Right? So make sure that you're strong enough in your recovery to handle being around people who are highly triggering.
And if they're safe, they're going to respect and understand that and
right.
honor that. And if they're not safe, then you've made a good decision to begin with. So choose who you'll spend time with. That's number one. Number two, set limitations and communicate them. And this is kind of goes hand in hand with number one, because we're realizing this person is safe, this person isn't safe. So I'm going to set some limitations. So talk to us real quick about, for starters, how can we set limitations? What sort of limitations should we set?
So the easiest limitation to set is time.
Okay.
How much time I'm going to spend in this location with these people.
Okay.
So I can have a plan going in that I am not, if it's the family normally all stays together, I can get a hotel so that I have a place to retreat if I get triggered. I can limit the time. I'm just going for the meal and then I'm going to leave.
Right.
I am just going to go for a certain amount of hours and then
at 3 o'clock, I'm
leaving no matter what. So the easiest boundary to set around is time.
Okay.
That way, I only have to be in my own kind of guarded state
right.
for a set amount of time, because none of us can maintain that kind of
right.
energy for a really long time.
And I guess another kind of limitation would be, I'm not going to go to a particular person's house, or I'm not going to go to a particular place. Or maybe along those same lines, I'm not going to be alone with a particular person.
That's right.
If that particular person is triggering and us trying to have a private conversation has the potential to escalate, it's okay to say, I'm not going to spend time alone with them. I'm going to make sure I have someone else there to buffer
Absolutely.
that relationship.
Absolutely.
So here's the next thing that's important about setting limitations, and that is clearly and graciously communicate them. It's not enough just to have these limitations in your mind.
Absolutely.
So how, Melissa, can we make sure to express those in a healthy way?
So especially if you're dealing with family members, it's really important for them to know the plan ahead of time. If you spring it on them in the moment, it's not going to go well. And so I recommend phone calls before, emails before, however it feels safe to communicate, to say, hey, mom and dad, just want you to know we're going to be there from 9 o'clock in the morning and we're going to leave after 1. I know that might be hard for you, so we validate that it's going to be a challenge for them because they want to spend more time. But we have other plans, and so just want to let you know ahead of time so you could get used to that idea. Thank you for understanding.
Yeah. And we did that recently, not because they're unsafe, but just circumstances were such. We were going to be at my parents' house in a different time frame than is normal.
Right.
And so I began several weeks ago to communicate that with my parents so that they were aware and they would understand those limitations, and so that they could have realistic expectations
Absolutely.
as well. So the bottom line is, communication solves a lot. And being authentic and being open and really just communicating out in the open really can solve a lot of problems and make sure expectations are set well, and make sure that limitations are understood, and that can really keep things safe. So number one, choose who you'll spend time with. Number two, set limitations and communicate them. Number three, extremely practical, a 10-minute prep session. So here's what we mean by a 10-minute prep session. Before you leave on your trip, or maybe as you're traveling you're almost to your family member's house, we're going to just kind of go over together. This is especially important for couples, but talk to us about what we can talk about in that 10-minute prep session. So
first of all, we've got to think about the first thing in our prep session as we're relating to each other is, what do I foresee as potential triggers here? So the first thing husbands and wives are talking about, or if you're talking with your accountability partner, if you're a single person, what could be triggering about this environment?
Right.
Office party, family thing, whatever. What could be triggering?
So we're preparing ourselves.
Absolutely. We're anticipating the trigger ahead of time. And so we're talking about it with each other. What's going to be really triggering to me if your mom says X, Y, Z. Or it's going to be really triggering if some woman comes up to you who I don't know, who is not dressed appropriately. Right. Whatever. Okay? So we're anticipating that, and we're talking about what's the plan if that happens.
Gotcha. And it sounds like what's important is that we have talked together and anticipated, and we've kind of got a plan. If
Absolutely.
This happens, this is how we're going to handle it. If that happens, that's how we're going to handle it.
Right. So we're going to anticipate triggers, communicate them to each other, and make a plan together, whether that's with your spouse or with an accountability partner.
That's awesome. So that leads us to the final one, which is super practical and super important, and that is have an escape plan. Sometimes things just get overwhelming. Sometimes things get out of hand, and there needs to be an escape plan. So talk to us, Melissa, about how we can escape when needed. Is there a big button we can press?
I wish.
Yeah.
Right?
So talk to us about that.
So, I'm mindful of the fact that when we first started our recovery, we talked about this because your mom was so triggering for you. Being around my parents was triggering for you. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to know, we wanted to be able to communicate with each other in a way that either one of us could communicate, I'm not okay, we need to leave. And so early in our recovery, we would often let the grandparents watch the children, and we would go out together so that we could get ourselves grounded and just bond and talk about what was happening inside of us. But whether it's you come up to each other and you just squeeze a hand, then that's the signal that I'm not okay and I need to get some distance here.
Or maybe there's a code phrase.
Right, like peanut butter sandwiches, whatever. It can be funny. It can be whatever grounds you guys in the moment to say, or if you're single, having a text code word to one of your accountability partners that says you're in trouble and you need them to call right then.
And I love that, Melissa. And here's a great thing about the holidays and this whole escape plan. Part of having an escape plan is having safe friends prepared. They know, hey, Melissa's traveling on these days. She's going to be at this place. And they know that if they get an SOS text from you, they're available for you.
Absolutely.
So talk real quick about why that's important to have those safe people that are out there, because surely I can be there for you.
Yeah, sometimes, unless we're both triggered.
Yes.
So I think for even couples, it's really helpful to have women who know me, because women get triggered by different things than men, right? And having someone that I can download with or vent to, or just say, talk me off the cliff. I would say this, if you can, the coming in as a team, as a married couple, builds trust. It solidifies the bond that we have together. So if we can operate as a team, as long as you're not the one who triggered me, right, then that's the best case scenario.
But it's good to have that extra on the side. Buddy, I can call or text. Gal, you can call or text. So that there are other safe people just in case we're both triggered and we need someone. It's just, here's the thing.
Two are better than one.
Two are always better than one. And making a plan and having an escape route and having someone you can turn to is very important. And that's a good thing to have that through the holidays.
Absolutely.
So 4 things we've talked about today. Choose who you'll spend time with. Set limitations and communicate them. A 10-minute prep session to prepare before you go in. And then having an escape plan. Those 4 things will help us navigate the holidays safely. Melissa, one final word. What would you say?
I would say, remember the main thing for the holidays. It's really centering to remember that the reason we're doing all this in the first place is because once upon a time, a Savior came for us. And if I can focus on what I'm grateful for in the midst of my mom's anxiety, or if I can focus on really the big picture, that will do a lot to center my heart and remind me of what this is really all about.
Yeah, it's so easy with everything else that goes on at Christmas time to forget what Christmas is really all about. And just remembering, as you navigate your world this Christmas, God loves you. God is for you. And your recovery matters to Him a lot. And so our prayer for you is that you would navigate these holidays well, that you would experience great joy where you need joy, you would experience great comfort where you need comfort, you would experience great hope where you need hope. And I want you to know as Christmas comes, Melissa and I and the whole HopeQuest family are incredibly grateful for you. We appreciate your prayers. We appreciate your gifts. We appreciate your faithfully walking with us through these almost now 20 years of ministry. And Melissa and I want to say to you, Merry Christmas. We love you. We thank God for you. And God bless you.